As of today, there are around 3.1 to 3.2 million U.S. Air Force veterans. Though most people think of Air Force veterans as war heroes and pilots, most of the other Air Force veterans go unrecognized for their hard work behind the scenes. Just because most Air Force veterans never fly a plane or see combat does not mean they did not play an important role in the Air Force. This leads to the topic of Heath Auman. Senior Heath Auman served as an engineer in the 1st Civil Engineering Squadron in the United States Air Force and was deployed in the Middle East to support Operation Enduring Freedom. Heath Auman was born on September 10, 1980, in Reading, Pennsylvania, to William and Patty Auman. He grew up with one sibling, his sister Lindsay. His father, William Auman, was a factory worker. His mother, Patty, worked as a medical assistant during his childhood. Auman attended Conrad Weiser School District and grew up in Wilmersdorf, Pennsylvania. As a kid, he really enjoyed outdoor activities. He says, "What were some of your hobbies before service?"
Sports, outdoors, fishing, stuff like that. Largely the same as today.
When asked what his favorite childhood memory was, he said,
What was your favorite part or your favorite memory from your childhood?
Being outside, playing around in the neighborhood, riding bike.
His first job was being a dishwasher. Then after high school, he delivered newspapers and shoveled driveways. Shortly after high school, he made his decision to enlist in the U.S. Air Force. This was not a surprise to his family at all, as his parents and his sister were very supportive of his decisions to enlist. His biggest influence was his Uncle Brian, who would take him to Fort Indiantown Gap. After Heath Auman enlisted, he was assigned to the 1st Civil Engineering Squadron. He did not initially want to be an engineer. He instead wanted to be a crew chief, but when he got his physical and got on the plane to basic training, he found out for sure he was colorblind. He was not allowed to work on aircraft. Therefore, he decided to be an engineer because he still wanted to be in the Air Force, even if he couldn't do what he wanted. Shortly after, he got on the plane and headed to Lackland Air Force Base, Texas, for his basic training. When asked how long it took to adjust to the Air Force lifestyle, he said,
Well, pretty quick.
He said his favorite memories of basic training were the many times guys would be yelled at by the drill instructors. He even recalled his most humorous memory of basic training, when instead of saying, "Sir, yes, sir," a guy said, "Okay," and the drill instructor made him do a dance around the barracks, saying,
It is not okay to say okay.
Auman slipped up, and he laughed. Then he was forced to join the guy in dancing around the barracks. Auman even said,
But yeah, that was worth it.
After completing basic training, Auman was stationed at Langley Air Force Base, Virginia, in the 1st Fighter Wing. Auman would then have to go through specialized training in marksmanship. He also qualified with all sorts of equipment, such as radios, vehicles, aircraft, and weapons. Boredom was a common feeling in Langley, so Auman and his friends would entertain themselves by driving around tiny little dump truck vehicles called Mighty Mites. He admitted that he was once caught 20 miles over the speed limit on a Mighty Mite and pulled over. Following the September 11th attacks, Auman had a feeling his deployment to the Middle East was coming soon. When asked about it, he said,
Coming soon?
Well, it did, yeah.
Yeah.
Auman summarized his time in the Middle East. He said,
And then I was at LUD Air Base, Doha, Qatar. Our job was to clear armaments, but make essentially big parking lots for bombs that were there from the Gulf War.
Mm-hmm.
They were expired. The old bombs on essentially the parking lot, ammo pads, and take the new stuff in the hardened bunkers.
Auman describes the deserts of Doha as finer than sand, and the conditions caused problems for him every day. He recalled needing to get his eyes flushed every day. The climate also caused problems for pilots, and it was Auman's job to fix the runways. Luckily, he was stationed in an area where bombings were not a threat, so he never had to fix a bombed runway, just perform regular maintenance tasks. However, he did recall one scary moment when a terrorist attempted to break into his shop and was killed. In fact, he shared a fact about that scary moment.
Jeez.
And the first casualty of Operation Enduring Freedom was in my shop. So.
Was it?
While Heath Auman was deployed, he had some weird experiences, some that he vividly remembered. He vividly remembered one man that stuck out to him. He did not know the man's name, but he knew what the man did, and remembered the one time he saw him. Auman said,
Guys, I don't know what they got into, but they got into something.
Auman remembered hearing that man would go on solo missions, steal taxi cabs, and steal people. He then recalled the first time he saw Navy SEALs in person.
Yeah, it was wild because they got off the plane and they just had camis on. No, they didn't have their names on it. Didn't have U.S. And what its branch they were in. They had long hair, beards, tats.
During his service, Auman formed friendships and camaraderie. When asked to describe the relationships he built with his men, he said,
Like no other, like a special kind. Like
he had no problem staying in touch with his family and friends. The Air Force offered phone lines to call on, so Auman would call Fort Indiantown Gap, and they would then put him on a line with who he wanted to call. He described the phone system as a credit card for phones, as he had to pay $1 per minute while on the phone, but to him it was worth it. Though Auman spent a lot of time during his deployment working, he also had lots of time to kill. He and his comrades had to find ways to stay entertained. To stay entertained, he and his friends would typically go to the gym. Auman said,
trouble, like go to the gym. They had really nice gyms on base. Like one was
Auman really enjoyed playing basketball with his friends every day. Auman remembered a rather humorous moment from when his comrades were messing around on base.
I remember walking back from work. I work at nights, and a chair just was flying off the third story balcony.
Though Heath Auman did not remember the exact date of his last day in this service, he still recalled that day and remembered it very well. When asked if he remembered that day, he said,
Yeah, I remember last day because you do this called out processing. Like you don't just quit and walk out the door. There's all kinds of things you have to do, and essentially you have like appointments all day, every day for like a week or two. So you don't do any work. Just get to your last appointment done. They put the stamp on it. You get your paperwork, and that's that.
After returning home, Auman was received very well by his family and friends. When asked how it felt to come back home, he said,
It was good. Well, it wasn't like it's not like I was coming back from war or anything like that.
He said the adjustment wasn't terrible. As he said,
Yeah, it was decent. It was a nice like a weight off my shoulders.
Auman recalled a rather humorous moment from when he first returned home. He had a pet python, and his dad was deathly afraid of snakes. One day, he forgot to close the snake's enclosure, and it escaped overnight. After a day of looking for it with his sister, he finally found it under his sister's bed, just coiled up down there. He said he had never felt more relief in his life, knowing his dad would have torn the house down had he found that snake.
After his service, Auman would pursue an education at Millersville University, using the GI Bill to receive a full-ride scholarship. Due to his service, Auman believes that he did much better in college than he would have had he not been in the Air Force. After college, he would move to Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and marry Jessica Auman. Shortly after, he would welcome his only son, Eric Auman, into the world. Less than a year after the birth of his son, he and his wife would move to Canonsburg, Pennsylvania. Heath Auman would get a job in oil and gas. In 2021, he would move back near his hometown in Myerstown, Pennsylvania. Looking back on his service, Auman does not regret a thing. When asked the simple question, was it worth it, Auman said,
I'll do it again.
Auman said his favorite part of the service was
The shenanigans, like probably driving those mini trucks. It was always fun.
When asked why he decided to not serve any longer, Auman said,
I had enough. Like September 11th really changed the dynamics of the Air Force. Got extremely political, and it wasn't the same.
He said his service changed him as it made him appreciate things more. A strong message he had to say was,
Poorest people in the United States are among the richest people in the world. So
another message he had for future generations was to
strongly consider the Air Force.
Okay.
I'd say Space Force too. I'd probably think pretty cool. No offense to the other branches, but want to be treated the best.
He also said that
The jobs that are in the Air Force are very practical to the real world.
his final message to the future generations was,
Well, I'll leave it at this. My uncle always said there's two branches of the military.
Mm-hmm.
the Air Force and everybody who wishes they join the Air
In
Force.
conclusion, though Auman was not a war hero or a pilot, his hard work behind the scenes greatly benefited the Air Force. Auman served as an engineer in the 1st Civil Engineering Squadron in the United States Air Force, with his highest rank being Senior Airman. In his later years of service, he would go on to be deployed in the Middle East to support Operation Enduring Freedom. His effort overseas would pay off as Operation Enduring Freedom was a success for the U.S. Air Force.